How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am back with more patriotic Golden Age superheroes. Now, if this is the first one you're watching, for the entire month of June, I am going to be doing Golden Age patriotic superheroes leading up to the very first patriotic superhero, which I will be covering on the 4th of July. And this time, I'm not wearing a cowboy shirt. It says USA, and it has an eagle. And the eagle is actually the theme of this video. All three of these heroes are connected to eagles in some way, and one of them is completely ridiculous, and I will try and get through his origin without laughing. We are going to actually be covering 3 heroes on this list, so we'll try and get into full time. We have the American Eagle, Captain Flag, and the Eagle. Let's get this video started. American Eagle, Tom Standish, first appeared in Exciting Comics number 2 in 1941. He was published by Standard Comic Books, which was part of Nador Comics, which I had mentioned before. Tom Standish was a scientist who was doing experiments for the government. He was exposed to a mysterious black ray which gave him the powers of a bald eagle. I don't know why, it just happened. This gave him the ability of enhanced strength and flying, and of course he became super patriotic because it was a bald eagle after all. He would team up with a youngster by the name of Bud Pierce, who would go by Eaglet, and the two of them would fight Nazis in World War II. American Eagle would appear on a number of the issues of Exciting Comics and would even appear in an issue of The Fighting Yank. He would appear on a number of issues of America's Best Comics back in 1942, which is different from the DC comic America's Best. What's interesting about this is American Eagle's origin wasn't... we didn't know his origin until America's Best Comics number 2, even though he appeared in a number of issues before this comic came out. American Eagle would be revived by AC Comics, and he would appear on the issues of The Fighting Yank, and these storylines were based back in the 50s. American Eagle would see a revival in 2001, apparently. American Eagle was part of the Terra Obscura storyline, which appeared on the pages of Tom Strong Comics, that was produced by America's Best Comics under the DC label. This was written by Alan Moore, where the heroes of the past were put in suspended animation so they could be revived in the future to help fight whatever. I guess they knew a Mars invasion was coming and they would be revived for that. The American Eagle and Eaglet were searching for Captain Future, and they traced him to the lair of Dr. X, where both of them were killed and their bodies were discovered 3 years later by the Scarab and the Liberator. The American Eagle would also appear on the pages of Project Superpowers, which I actually own now. I don't see him doing anything. I think he's more of just another hero to be appearing on the pages. Next we'll be covering Captain Flag. Captain Flag first appeared in Blue Ribbon Comics number 16 under the publication of MLJ Comics, which would later go on to become Archie Comics. He was written by Joe Blair and drawn by Lynn Streeter. He would share the cover of Blue Ribbon Comics with Mr. Justice until issue number 19, where Captain Flag would be the only one appearing on the cover until that comic run came to an end. Tom Townsend was a playboy and his father was an inventor. And I mean playboy as in somebody who's rich and goes out around lavishing himself around town. Tom and his father would be kidnapped by the Black Hand. The Black Hand wanted information on Tom's father's new secret invention, but Tom, resisting the torture, dies while being questioned. Before Tom is killed as well, an eagle crashes through the window and carries Tom off. Why an eagle crashed through the window, I have no freaking clue about that one whatsoever. Now, the eagle would take Tom to his nest in the mountains and treat him like he was one of the little eaglets for whatever unusual reason. Tom, training up in the mountains, becomes a peak physical specimen. The eagle would later bring him a U.S. flag, which he would turn into a costume, and he would become the hero Captain Flag. He would also have the eagle become his sidekick as Yank the Eagle. They would go on to thwart the Black Hand, and he would end up joining the Mighty Crusaders and appearing on some of the issues of the original Shield and the Mighty Crusaders. In 1966, Archie Comics were bringing back a number of their old heroes from the 40s. One of them that they brought back was Captain Flag. On the pages of the Mighty Crusaders, he would ally himself with the Web and the Fox. And finally, we'll be recovering Eagle, or the Eagle. The Eagles is Captain Bill Powers. He first appeared in Science Comics #1 in 1940. He is published by Fox Features, created by Louis. I'm not going to brutalize this guy's last name. You can look it up. People have said that the eagle has the ability to fly. Now, many sites have stated this, but he cannot actually fly. They did show him with wings at one time, but he was using a jetpack. And on some of their adventures, their capes were coated in an anti-gravity solution because he is a scientist, but he did not actually fly. They have shown on more than one occasion where they jumped from airplanes using parachutes, and if they could fly, they would not be using parachutes. Bill Powers was a wealthy scientist who fought Nazis as a spy before he would put on a costume and start fighting them as the Eagle. He was assisted by his sidekick Buddy. Some of the foes that the Eagle would go up against would be Beast, Gimp, and the Scarecrow. The Eagle was not above killing his enemies. One of the things that Fox Publications said back then is, if it bleeds, it leads. So their lead feature stories would not be above killing the enemies. From the Ultramen until those runs would eventually come to an end. The Eagle would appear on the pages of Science Comics, Weird Comics, and the Eagle Comics. Now, the Eagle did appear. He appears on the pages of Project Superpowers. I haven't read it yet, so I'm not completely sure what's going on. I know he's assisting on the hunt for the cat, who has become more of a feral beast at that point. And at some point they start calling him the Burning Eagle, where he is either engulfed in flames or he is the flames. And I know that they put him in a forge of some sort. Like I said, I have it, but I haven't read it. I will update some of the heroes I go over when I finish reading it. But he is in Project Superpowers. He asked for Captain Flag. I had to read it a number of times to get through it without laughing. That was completely ridiculous. Well, I hope you liked this video. I've got more patriotic superhero videos on the way leading up to the 4th of July. So until then, I'll be seeing you.